Today we will be reading Saved by the Boats, written by Julie Gassman. An arc of sky framed the city in brilliant blue. The bright golden sun beamed with warmth, but just below, gray smoke swelled and snaked us through the air. And silently, while ash fell in a thick snowfall coating the city, tragedy was quickly smothering New York City, and its people were searching for a way out. They found their way to the city's edge, held back by the water. In this picture, I see a lot of smoke coming out of the buildings. A lot of boats. I wonder what that means. While more than 1 million people searched for escape, hundreds of boat captains sailed into the destruction. They felt a call to action, a desire to help, a realization that they could provide a safe harbor. They were ordinary people who became heroes on a day when greatness was desperately needed, a day when the unthinkable happened. So we still see the smoke coming out of the buildings, and we know that there are first responders, but what could have caused the buildings to go on fire? I wonder. In these pictures, I see a lot of traffic, it looks like, showing a lot of forms of transportation too. Let's see. September 11th, 2001 started like any normal Tuesday in Jersey City. Just after dawn, captains and boat crews readied their boats in surrounding ports. The ferry boat crews carried their usual commuters to work in Manhattan. The city buzzed with activity. Subway riders climbed up the stairs of underground train stations to be greeted by warm sunshines and a cloudless blue sky. So we saw the smoke on the first page, but then we also read that there was a cloudless blue sky. So I wonder if the smoke had something to do with the sky. So we'll find out. Here, I noticed something different. I see an airplane, but it looks like it's just sitting there, because the building is on fire already. But the beautiful day was soon broken. At 8:46 a.m., an airplane hit one of the city's most recognizable buildings, the World Trade Center's North Tower. At first it seemed like if it was a terrible accident, but when a second airplane hit the tower at 9:03 a.m., the message was clear. New York City and the United States was under attack. Here I see a lot of firefighters and people covering their nose. That might be from the oxygen. Also here we see people sticking their heads out of windows. This person looks like they're taking a picture. And these families look like they're comforting each other, but also look confused. That cloudless blue sky was now streaked with gray and black smoke. People desperately tried to flee the scene. Firefighters and police officers rushed to the towers to begin rescue efforts. New Yorkers from all 5 boroughs scanned the skies from windows and sidewalks, and boat crews watched the fires rage out of the towers. But no one expected what came next. Knowing that there are a lot of first responders and people look a little upset and distraught in these pictures, I wonder what is coming next. Wow. Here you see one of the buildings basically destroyed, and the other one is still on fire. But here we find out that no one expected the towers to fall. Here I see a lot of congestedness with all the traffic, and it looks like people here are getting on boats. Wonder what they're doing. Suddenly, more than 1 million people were searching for safety, and subways, bridges, and tunnels were closed as a measure of security. There was only one way off the island, the water. Fleeing, hundreds of thousands of people ran until they came to the place where the islands meet the water. Climbing over railings, they began boarding docks into the harbor. People were just diving into the boat, said firefighter Tom Sullivan, who was aboard a fireboat. We were trying to catch them, trying to help them on. Mothers and nannies with infants when their arms were dropping the children down to us, and then we helped the mothers and nannies down. Few people stopped to ask where the boats were going. These people wanted out of Manhattan. Any way they could, said Captain James Parise. Here, I still see a lot of smoke in the sky, but now we see the ferry boats that they were talking about. But I wonder where the ferry boats are going, and how many people are on there. It looked like there were a lot of people in the last page. Coast Guard officials noticed the lines of people grew deeper. Between 11 and 11:30 a.m., they put out the call. "All available boats!" rang the marine radios in the harbor and surrounding area. "This is the United States Coast Guard around the pilot boat New York. Anyone wanting to help with the evacuation of Lower Manhattan, report to Governor's Island." Boats of all sizes sped into the harbor. Tugboats, ferry boats, private boats, and party boats. "If it floated, and it could get there, it got there," said Engineer Robin Jones, and each vessel carried a captain and a crew who were ready to serve. Here I notice this page is more black and white. Not many pictures, but they're all just pictures of the ferry boats, but no people really. I wonder what that's about. The scene of the brave men and women sailed into was grim. The Twin Towers, the tallest buildings in New York City, had stood 110 stories tall. They were replaced with smoke and rubble. The smoke and dust in the air made visibly difficult. Crews knew that boats on the open water could be easy targets. But the captains didn't turn around. Instead, they sailed on. That day, my biggest concern was that the safety of the passengers, the vessel, and my crew and making the right decisions at the right time, explained Captain Parise. So they said that the captains weren't scared, but I wonder why. It seems like they're some sort of heroes, because they were more concerned about the passenger safety. In this picture, I see some blue, which must indicate some water, so it looks like that these passengers may be trying to get over to each other's boats, communicating in some way. When the captains and crews reached their slips, they saw just how badly they were needed. Many of the people looking for rescue had come from Ground Zero, where the towers once stood. Covered with ash and soot, they carried the weight of the day's tragedy right on their bodies. The crewmates gave towels to these victims, many of whom were crying and shaking with shock. As one captain said, "We thought if we could wash some soot off their faces, off their hands, we could make them more comfortable. We wanted to make them feel that somebody cared about what they just had gone through." On this page, it looks like everyone is still overcrowded on the boats, and some people are wearing life vests. I wonder if they're going to be swimming to somewhere else? Maybe to another boat? I don't know. Let's see. With loaded boats, captains made their way across the Hudson River. Many of the vessels sailed to Jersey City. There, ambulances with flashing lights waited for injured patients. The captains knew, too, that people who were displaced from their Lower Manhattan homes might find places to stay in New Jersey. Not only did they want to remove people from New York City, they also wanted to help people reach safe destinations. Here it looks like there's still a lot of overcrowding. You see some boats, but then you could also see some buildings, which may be Jersey City. Meanwhile, back in Manhattan, hours were passing. All along the edge of the Hudson River, lines formed for ferries. Commuters had to walk miles to reach the end of lines. Police officers warned the wait could be 5-6 hours long. But what choice did the people have but to wait? The police and all who were waiting hoped the crowds would remain calm. One woman said, "When we arrived at the pier, thousands of people were waiting in line. Thousands! Yet you could hear a pin drop. That was the scariest part about it." New York City, the city that never sleeps, had become almost eerily calm and quiet. Here it looks like there are people looking up in the sky. It doesn't look like an airplane, or maybe it is of some sort that may be helping them, because they look fascinated. As time passed, the quiet calm was disturbed by roaring fighter jets. One boat crewmate recalled, "The scariest part was when fighter jets were flying over Manhattan. We didn't know whose they were, and they were just coming close to us." Those waiting in line for evacuation worried too. More than one person asked, "Those are ours, right? Those are American planes?" And they were. United States military jets were the only planes being allowed to fly in the country's airspace. Here it looks like you see a lot of ferry boats, people sleeping on the boats. Maybe that's a sign that they've been on there a long time. Let's see. The lines moved faster than predicted, no doubt helped by the hundreds of boats that answered the Coast Guard's call for help. After just a couple of hours, passengers boarded boats headed for safety. Many boats announced destinations on bedsheets spray-painted words like Weehawken or Hoboken, small cities across the river. From the ferries, Rescued passengers started moving away from the terror of that day. Now they could see the sparkling New Jersey shoreline ahead of them. They were on their way home, or at least, out of harm's way. They had been saved by the boats. All day long, the boats sailed back and forth, rescuing passengers and then carrying rescue workers, water, and other supplies on their return. This looks like a more modern-day picture. I wonder what those two lines mean, though. Maybe the Twin Towers. They were once there. Hundreds of captains and crewmates became heroes that day. Over the course of just 9 hours, nearly 500,000 people were evacuated by water. It was the greatest thing I ever did with my life, said Captain Rick Thornton. Engineer Herb Jones described it as the greatest day I've seen in all my life on the water. It was the largest sea evacuation in history. It was an answer to a call for help. It was a light on the city's darkest day.